Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wantagh Middle School 6th grade orientation. I'm Mr. Chiffo. I am the very proud principal here at Wantagh Middle School. I'm joined tonight by a number of administrators, most of which you'll get to hear from briefly. We have Ms. Quattrochi, who is our assistant principal. We have Mr. Kozak, who is our director of STEM. Ms. Julie Rossley, our director of Humanities. We have Mr. Frank Musio, who is our director of guidance, and Ms. Kelly Jones, our director of fine and performing arts. If anyone else comes in, I'll introduce them when they pop in. So I think, for those of you who don't know me, I was the former principal at Forest Lake Elementary School for 6 years. I've been in the district for 23 years. Started off as a physical education teacher at Wantagh Elementary School. Did that for about 10 years. Then I was the assistant principal there for 1 year. Wantagh Middle School assistant principal for 2 years. Forest Lake principal for 6 years, and now I am in the middle of my 5th year as principal at Wantagh Middle School. So Wantagh is like my family. I feel like I kind of grew up here, and it's been my home away from home. I live local, so I run into people all the time in the stores. I'm right here in Belmore. I have 2 children who go to Grand Avenue Middle School and Mempum High School. So I tell you this because I'm in the same boat as all of you. And I just want you guys to understand that all of the fears and stress and anxiety that you have when your child starts a new school or a new endeavor, I've been through it as well. My daughter went from elementary school to middle school. It was terrifying, and she's thriving. And the same thing with my son, went through middle school during the COVID years and is now thriving in high school. So I've seen it from both ends as an administrator and as a parent, and just want you to know that our doors are always open to answer any questions you have. So the plan for tonight is just to give a brief overview. I'm sure you're probably shocked that your child is actually going into middle school. And for those of you that I know, I feel like it was just yesterday. I remember doing your child's incoming kindergarten orientation. I think I was your child's principal from Forest Lake when they were in kindergarten, right? And I left after kindergarten, I believe. So I don't know if they'll remember me, but I'm looking forward to getting to know them once again. They're just going to be a little bit taller than what I remember, I'm assuming. So the plan tonight is just to give you a brief overview of the amazing place that is Wantagh Middle School. You're going to hear from some of our directors. You get a chance to get an idea of what your child's day might look like and how you can help your child prepare for the challenges of middle school. And then at the end, we'll give you an opportunity to ask whatever questions you might have. Anything you don't get to, like I said, our doors are always open, and you can always, give us a call, shoot me an email, whatever it is. Okay, so first off, that's me. That's Ms. Quattrochi. Some other people that you'll get to know along the way, our main office staff, Ms. Kemma, Ms. Bonello, Ms. Price-Stuper, Ms. Post, Ms. Wall, and Ms. Contonitis. Not all pictured here, but most are pictured here. They are our frontline people. So those are the people that you'll see when you first enter the middle school, and whenever you call, if you call your child in sick or you have any questions, they'll be the ones that that will greet you. Then we have our amazing guidance counselors, and you hear more about our guidance program from Mr. Frank Musio, Mr. Ward, Ms. Gilly, and Mr. Bloom. You know what counselor your child has by the first letter of your child's last name. So A through F is Mr. Ward. That's Mr. Ward. Ms. Gilly is G through M, and then Mr. Bloom is N through Z. All three have been in the building for many, many years, very experienced. They've been through it all. So there really is no question, I don't think, that they can't handle. Your children will get to know them over the next couple of months. They'll be going into the elementary schools over the next couple of weeks or months. They'll be meeting with your children, going over basically a lot of the stuff that we're going over tonight. They're going to be going over with them in their classrooms. Then your children will have a chance to come to Wantagh Middle School towards the end of the school year, like in May-ish, and they'll get to tour the building, and then we'll have an orientation at the end of August. So there'll be plenty of opportunities for them to get to know their counselors and then also to meet some of their new classmates. We also have our 2 school psychologists in the building, Dr. Zelenitz, who was my second-hand person when I was at Forest Lake. She was a school psychologist there. She's been here with us for now 3 years. And Ms. Desmond, who is split between here and Wantagh Elementary School. and I anticipate that's how it's going to be next year as well. And then our school nurse is Miss Zygus and Miss Brady, and their clerical is Miss Pfister. So you'll get to know them very well as well. They'll be around come orientation day in August, and they can answer any health-related questions you might have. Okay, then we have our department directors. This slideshow is going to be up on our website by tomorrow morning. You're also going to get an email at about 8 o'clock tonight. In about 50 minutes, you'll get an email, and I'm going to put the links to this slideshow, the live presentation that people can be watching from home. Hello out there if you're listening from home. And you'll be able to review, and you can just go through the slideshow as well. It'll be in PDF format. So I just put this slide in there, so if you have any curriculum-related questions, these are your contacts and go-to people. And of course, the heart and soul of our building is our amazing educators. This is just a few of them. We really pride ourselves on getting to know your children, and our brand is Warriors Care. We might have to repackage that in a year or two, depending on how our Warrior logo or mascot endeavor goes. But we'll come up with something just as good so that it's clear what we're all about. We're all about the importance of making sure that your children feel cared for and loved. And that's like our driving force and our driving motto, that children need to feel cared for and loved before they're available to learn. And that's something that we really pride ourselves on here at Wantagh Middle School. You'll see it through our advisory program and just through the staff members that you meet and your child meets along the way. And that's basically become our brand. And it's all about building relationships. And we really spend the first couple of weeks of your child's 6th grade days building relationships with them. It's really important to us, and it's something that we really pride ourselves on. Okay, so I'm going to bring up Ms. Quattrochi. She's going to start to talk a little bit about what to expect in terms of scheduling and the way we structure our 6th grade, followed by some of our directors and supervisors. And then I'll jump back in and kind of talk about some nuts and bolts kind of stuff, and then we'll do a Q&A. So, Ms. Q.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. So I'm going to speak to you a little bit about teaming in the middle school. I know some of you from Mandalay are familiar with teaming, where the other 2 elementary schools are not as familiar. So what you can see here is we are Team Awesome. And we here at the middle school, when we say teaming, there's 2 teams that we have. We have the gold team and the black team, which I will show you momentarily. The purpose of our teaming is so that they can collaborate together. And it's an experience where one of the things that we've really been building upon is the experience and the spirit of being on that team. So team members have an opportunity to meet daily with their team, as well as the opportunity to meet with people on the opposite team, so that way both teams are still offering a similar experience. So this is the black team. You can see again the names of the teachers that are on the black team. Your child will either be on the black team or the gold team. However, throughout the school day, they'll be with their set class. They travel with the same class throughout the day, but they have an opportunity, so there's no need to worry if your child is not necessarily with all of their friends. They will have an opportunity to mix the gold team and the black team in their electives, their wheel courses, their language, and as well as lunch. All right, and I will be back with some more information shortly, but I would like to now introduce you, Mr. Kozak, and he's going to share some of our math and science programs.
Hi, good evening. First to start with our math program, Ms. Q is going to talk about this a little bit more after the directors go, but our math classes meet alternating days between 40 and 60 minutes. So they do meet daily. Every other day, it's a little bit longer. And during that period, it gives students a chance to explore in terms of mathematics, and also allows for academic intervention services, which we do have certain classes where we have a push-in math teacher to help in terms of support. For students who require it as well, we also offer academic math labs, so academic intervention services, classes during the school day and during early bird, which I think we'll get to later in the presentation as well. Our math sixth grade teachers, Mrs. Gonius and Mrs. Van Bargen, are outstanding. So whichever math teacher you get, you're in really good hands. And in terms of seventh grade math, I know it's kind of looking down the road, but math sixth grade covers math sixth grade standards. And then in math 7, students will have a choice of taking math 7, which covers all math 7 standards. And we also have math 7 honors, which covers all of math 7, a good portion of math 8, which prepares students to enter Algebra 1 in 8th grade, which is a high school level course. So I'll say it again. So in a year from now, you'll be sitting here asking me, and that's where the questions will come in terms of my department. But students will make a choice during 6th grade in families where they're going from Math 6. They have a choice of going to Math 7, or they can go into Math 7 Honors. Okay, Math 7 Honors is a course that comprises 7th grade math, a good portion of 8th grade math, and that prepares students basically to go from Math 7 to Math 9, right? They're jumping over that, and they're entering Algebra 1 in 8th grade. Okay. And in science, we also have 2 outstanding teachers, Mr. Verline and Ms. Zipfel. We use a hands-on, minds-on approach to learning using a three-dimensional science approach, and those are fully aligned with the next generation science standards and the New York State Science and Learning Standards. Both 6th grade and 7th grade science prepare students for our 2 different Regents options in 8th grade. By the time your students arrive in 8th grade, they'll have a choice of Earth and Space Science, which is currently called Earth Science, and Biology, which is now called Living Environment, but now is going back to Biology in 2 years from now, okay? All right, thank you. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kozak. Now introducing our Director of Humanities, Ms. Julie Rossley.
Hi, good evening. So 6th grade, you know, is a really exciting time, and students are super fortunate to be continued learning their reading and writing curriculum. They follow the reading and writing workshop that they've been currently receiving and have received in the past in elementary school. While in English class, students will be instructed and supported by both an English teacher and a reading teacher. Throughout next year, your students will be empowered with choice when reading nonfiction, as well as fiction texts independently. This autonomy has proven to stimulate interest and enjoyment in reading, thereby helping students to forge an appreciation of literature. And if there's one goal we truly have as students go through their English curriculum, it's for them to enjoy reading, as well as to enjoy writing, but they start with the enjoyment of reading. During the school year, students will write memoirs as well as argumentative and informational pieces in tandem with their reading units, thereby reinforcing the instruction of author's craft, text styles, and structures that they will study. Oh, you're controlling it. Look at you go. Social studies. In 6th grade, the social studies curriculum is based on geography and history of the Eastern Hemisphere, including the development of cultures, civilizations, and empires. As they uncover the social studies curriculum, students are provided with the opportunity to explore belief systems across time and to examine the foundations of democracy. The course covers a time span from prehistory into the 1300s. The 6th grade social studies teachers encourage their students to make connections between the past and the present, as the curriculum is based on big ideas and essential questions that explore how the ancient world impacts our world today. And world languages. In 6th grade, students continue their study of world languages, learning both vocabulary and conjugations, as well as the culture and practices associated with the selected world language. This is a shift from elementary school, where students have learned elements of French, Italian, and Spanish language and culture. Beginning in middle school, students will now focus on just one of the 3 languages they have been exposed to over the past few years. Once Mr. Chifo shares the language selection survey, I ask that you be sure to complete it to indicate your child's language preference. Those preference requests are due by this Thursday, January 25th. All right, at this time, I'd like to call up Ms. Jones, who's our Director of Fine Arts.
Hello. Welcome. So for music, your child most likely is in a performing ensemble at the elementary level, band, chorus, orchestra. Those do continue when they move up to the middle school. One incredible thing that we were able to add 2 years ago, I think it's been 2 years now, we have something called Early Bird Chorus. So in elementary school, your student can take band, orchestra, and they can also participate in chorus. So they're essentially in 2 performing ensembles. What we did at the middle school is we had lots of requests. You know, parents are like, it's so sad our students can continue to sing. You know, they really love their instrument, but they love to sing as well. So what we did is we created Early Bird Chorus for those band and orchestra students. Early Bird Chorus, which I'm sure that they'll go over the timing for periods, but it actually takes place during period 1. The middle school day starts period 2, so it's actually just before the regular school day for the majority of the middle school students. But they're able to come in, and it's just like a regular class. They come, they'll have early bird chorus every other day, and then their orchestra and band class would be embedded within their 6th grade schedule as usual. So they do have that opportunity to perform in both ensembles, both the chorus and band or orchestra. And it's been an incredible success. This year, we're up to 2 sections. Students have joined. There's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And it's just been really wonderful for those students who are really invested in singing, as well as their instrument, can take both chorus and their performing ensemble with their instrument. And of course, we do have our general music. I know that some students aren't musically inclined, but we encourage everyone to participate in an ensemble, especially the 6th grade, because it is so much different than the elementary level. It's a class during the school day, and it's really part of their overall 6th grade experience. So we really encourage them, but if not, that's okay. We do have a general music class for those students who are not participating at the 5th grade level. But we encourage your student, now is a perfect time. If you do want to encourage your student to participate, to enroll after this winter concert, which this week is the final elementary winter concerts. And if you have that desire, please encourage your student to join either chorus or pick up an instrument right now in 5th grade and get caught up and get going, and then welcome into the 6th grade on an instrument or a chorus. But if not, that's okay too. General music is there for them. And of course, our music selection will be in the form of a Google form. Mr. Chiffo's set that to go out tonight at 8 o'clock. So that is due for me by January 26th. And it just really goes through and it just allows you to choose your ensemble, gives me some more information about instrumentation, and then also if you're interested in doing the early bird chorus as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your music teacher or to email me. But we're excited to continue the incredible experience that your children have in music at the middle school level as well. Thanks.
I got it. Thank you, Ms. Jones. I just want to jump on real quick. So we're very proud of our music program, and thank you, Mrs. Jones, for all the work that you do for the program. When we made that switch, she hit it on the head. Like we always felt like it's hard for a child to choose between one of the 3 groups. So we're really grateful that we're able to implement that early bird chorus to give your child that opportunity, and we thank the Board of Ed for supporting that. As far as the forms, like Ms. Jones said, so I'm sending out the email that's going to have both forms for language and for music tonight. It'll also be available on the website tomorrow morning. They're both due actually Friday the 26th. I know that other slide said the 25th. That was the original date. But we have Friday is the date that we'd like to get them in. And if you don't get it in by then, don't panic. Just email us, and we'll make sure that we get the selections in. And we're going to chase you down if you don't get it in by Friday. So they'll be out by the time you get home. You should have access to them. And now our Director of Guidance, Mr. Frank Musio.
Thank you, Mr. Chiffo. Good evening, everyone. I'm Frank Musio. I'm the Director of Guidance. Just show of hands, how many of you are first-time middle school parents next year? Oh, quite a few. Okay, I'm excited for you. I am. And there's my slide. Okay. One thing I wanted to mention, as you are entering the middle school, it is an explosion of change for your child and for you. So you're used to, let's say, dealing with one teacher, maybe 2 teachers, a special teacher and a classroom teacher, and now you're going to have 6 teachers. And your child is going to have, as we just saw with the music screen, they're going to have a lot more choices as well. And that's a lot where we come in with the guidance department. You may be familiar with the guidance staff in the elementary school, Mrs. Fursey and Mrs. Schulman. And they were, I hope for you, helpful. And that's their primary role. And they were hopefully helpful to your child. Now, the middle school, it's the same concept. We're going to try to help you navigate middle school as a parent. We're going to help your child navigate middle school as a student. If I could describe the middle school counselors, and I think Mr. Schiffo said that nothing really shocks them, they are extremely experienced professionals. One thing that I think they all have in common, they each do their job a little bit differently, but each of them has a calming influence on students. And many times, students will come down and they'll be upset about something. I think the first thing our counselors do is get the child really to understand the severity of the situation and maybe take a deep breath, and then figure out solutions to those problems. They're very skilled at what they do, and they know the middle school child. And the middle school child, this is true, middle school child goes through more changes cognitively and physically than at any time in their lives, with the exception of infancy. So if you think about that, between the ages of 11 and 13, the child's going to go through a lot of changes. It's going to be confusing for them. It's going to be fun and exhilarating as well, and we're there to help. Some of the other things that we do some transition exercises. We've already been to the elementary school, so the children have met Mr. Bloom, Mr. Ward, and Mrs. Gilly. We'll do that again in June. We'll visit each of the elementary schools, and then they'll visit us. And then we really want to have the students feel comfortable by the time they walk in August and they get their schedules and so on. And we want them to know where the guidance office is. Every time I go down there, my office is here in the high school. I walk over to the middle school. It's never empty. There's always children waiting. There's always students in the offices. We make it a very inviting place for students to visit, and we hope that we make it a very inviting place for you to call and email us as well with any questions that you have. We do programs throughout the year. We do a lot of personal counseling. We do a lot of group counseling. We do some push-in lessons on things like cyber safety. We do push-in lessons on personality and career education, things like that, social emotional learning. We will be reaching out to you. We're going to leave that to you in 6th grade, but in 7th grade we have formal parent meetings for 7th grade parents and for 8th grade parents, and we have evening programs as well. So we hope that you take part in those things. I wish you tremendous luck. Look us up on the website. You'll see our email addresses and our phone numbers, and we'll be in touch. Thank you for being here. And now I'd like to have Mrs. Quattrocchi come up and talk about the schedules. Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Musio. So we are giving you a lot of information at one time, and next comes the schedule. And navigating the schedule is definitely going to be something that might be a little bit overwhelming. Mr. Musio just asked how many of you are first time at the middle school. Can I just see again how many people are here? Okay, so I'm going to do my best to break it down piece by piece. At the end, we'll take questions, but know, as Mr. Schiffo said in the beginning of the presentation, our door is always open. So if there's something here tonight that you're confused about, you go home, you look at the slides, you rewatch the presentation, and something's still confusing to you, please don't hesitate to reach out. So with that being said, up here you're going to see the 6th grade course offerings. So obviously at the top there, those are the core subject areas: ELA, mathematics, social studies, and science. Now, the next thing that we offer, we call the wheel courses. Those in the middle school are 1 quarter each, and they are offered daily. So every day for 1 quarter, your child will have one of the exploratory courses. Now, as previously mentioned, the next thing that you'll see on there is our world language form and our world language and music. Those forms will go out. You'll sit down and talk with your child, and you'll make the choice that they want, what they want to select for middle school. Creative Minds is another one of our exploratory courses. That's a program that's offered that's hands-on projects in critical thinking, and that's something I know you might be familiar with from the STEAM program from the elementary school. Now, moving on to the sample schedule. Okay, So again, this can be very confusing for somebody who hasn't seen a middle school schedule before. So up here you'll see the first class of the day is advisory. We run on the same time schedule as the high school. So our first class of the day technically starts period 2. So when you get your child's schedule, it will say period 2. That's really period 1 for your child. But before they go to their period 2 class, every child starts in advisory, and I will talk about advisory in a little bit. But so advisory is their first class, and then period 2, which is period 1, would be their first class of the day. In 6th grade, your child will be traveling. I spoke a little bit earlier about a team. So your child will be traveling from class to class with a different teacher for all of their core subject areas. However, they will be traveling with the same group of students. So they will be with the same class all day, except for some of the courses that I mentioned earlier, like lunch and the wheel classes and the language. They'll be traveling with the same group of students, but they will be moving, now this is different from elementary school, from class to class with a different core subject teacher. All of the core subject areas, there will be a 60-minute learning block that alternates with a 40-minute class, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So what we do in the middle school is to help children who learn, say, maybe better in the morning, or some students learn better in the afternoon. We offer the 60-minute block periods, say 2, 3, 4 would be according to this schedule. So English is period 2, it says discovery learning, and then social studies period 4. Discovery learning is not a course. It's a placeholder in your child's schedule to show that they will be in a block period. So it's a 60-minute learning block. So if your child has English period 2, for the first 20 minutes of period 3, they will still be in English. Then a bell will ring in the 6th grade classroom. They will then move to what's marked for period 4, which would be social studies, for the second half of period 3, as well as period 4. So it's a 60-minute learning block for 2, 3, and 4 for English and social studies for that child on an odd day. And then you'll see in the afternoon they have science and math for 40 minutes that day. So on odd days, that would be this child's schedule. Now, if you look on an even day, the next day, that flip-flops. Now they have a 60-minute block for math and science. So they'd have math for period 2 and half of period 3. The second half of period 3 and period 4, your child would go to science. And then in the afternoon, they have 40 minutes of social studies and English. So again, discovery learning is not a course. It's just simply what we use as a placeholder in your child's schedule for the learning block that they have in the morning. Now, lunch. Lunch is something that's a very unique experience at the middle school. So we have a 40-minute period for lunch, 20 minutes for your child to eat, and then 20 minutes for recess. Now, we have something that is like no other here at Wantagh Middle School. We have a game room. So we have somebody who goes outside. We have a recess coordinator who organizes games outside. And then if your child chooses to stay inside, we have lots of regular board games, as well as air hockey tables, foosball tables, basketball games. We have a ton, I think I said air hockey. So, and what'd you say? And ping pong. I knew I was forgetting something. Ping pong. We have tournaments sometimes, although I typically lose. However, we have a really, really great place for your child to learn how to socialize and learn how to win and learn how to lose in a really safe setting, and the students love it. It's a really unique experience. So this is the bell schedule. So some of the people who were previously up here spoke about the early bird program, which is an option. So early bird, if your child chooses to partake in an early bird class, it is part of their regular school day. They are expected to attend early bird or period 1 as they would any other class in their schedule. So early bird, as Ms. Jones mentioned earlier, is an option for early bird chorus. We also have some academic support classes that are in the early bird time slot as well. Then, as you see, your child goes to advisory, which is a 10-minute spot in the school day, and we'll talk a little bit more about advisory in a little bit. And then you can see that's the rest of the school day is period 2 through period 10, and our school day starts at 8:16 and it ends at 3:02. So Schoology. Schoology is something that most of you, I'm sure, are very familiar with. This is used daily in middle school. So if you are not familiar with how to use Schoology, there are videos on our website that show you step-by-step how to use it. Schoology also has an app. We utilize Schoology. It's really your first line of anything that you need to know in the middle school. It will say when there are extra help is scheduled, any upcoming exams, any homework, class notes, daily assignments. Everything is tracked on Schoology. The next instructional resource is Infinite Campus. Again, another program I'm sure that you are very familiar with. Here in the middle school, we use it for our grades, our report cards, daily attendance. It's also where you will find your child's schedule. This is not used, it's usually synced weekly with the grades from Schoology. So if you're looking to find a grade from day to day, not a report card grade, Schoology is usually the best place to go to find a day-to-day grade, where Infinite Campus is used more for report cards. Advisory. So advisory, Mr. Chiffo and myself will say, is the best 10 minutes of our day. We have our own advisory, and they help with the morning announcements. Advisory, each teacher has about 8 to 10 kids in their advisory group every day. Your child's advisor will be the first person they start their day with from 6th grade all the way through 8th grade. They are in the same advisory group with the same teacher, and each year, as the 8th graders graduate and the new 6th graders come in, they enter into a group which has mixed grades. So we have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that are in the advisory groups. It's a really nice way for students to get to know some familiar faces in older grades, and they get to, ask each other questions. They build relationships with each other, and it really is. It's the best 10 minutes of the day. And we have something special we do on Fridays. We do Name That Tune. So Name That Tune is something that gets very competitive amongst our teachers and our students. We choose a song every week, and just like the old days of Z100 when you have to call in and be the 100th caller, we choose usually the 7th caller. And teachers call in from their phones. They call Mr. Chiffo's office, where we have one of our advisory students answer the phone, and then they compete to win and name that tune and come down to win a fabulous prize. All right. The next thing, and this is probably the most dreaded slide, is the locker. So I know that this is the source of anxiety for 99.9% of any students that are entering the middle school. But I also promise you, the 6th graders are usually the best at opening their lockers in comparison to the 7th and 8th graders, because they practice it so many times. So lockers are used daily because we do not allow backpacks at the middle school. Backpacks, obviously, they can come in with their backpack, but then they put their backpack and all of their belongings in their locker. They are welcome to decorate their lockers at the end of August. As I walk around at the end of August and I see the chandeliers and the decor inside, I tell them that they can come and decorate my office when they're done, because there's top-notch things in the locker. One of the things that we recommend is obviously not sharing your locker code. The easiest way to have things go missing is to share your code with your friends. And as you can see here, that is the September locker on the left, and that is the June locker on the right. And we try very hard to not have June lockers in September or in October. So we do have we have quarterly locker cleanouts, and we try to, obviously if there's somebody who's struggling with organization, we try to help them keep their locker clean and organized. Next is clubs. So in 6th grade, there's no sports yet, but we offer a ton of clubs. And there's some really, really cool and interesting clubs. I like to think that there's something for everyone. Some of the interesting clubs, like one that comes to the top of my head, is the podcasting club. We have some really unique and cool experiences for your students. In 7th and 8th grade, that is when your child is able to join sports. All of these clubs are listed on our website. We also have a club calendar, and that populates live. And what I mean by that is all of our clubs are listed, because some of them are, say, weekly, some are bi-weekly, some are monthly, and it might be hard to keep track of where your student is and what they have today. So we try to keep that updated on the daily in case something's canceled, something's changed. So you can go to our website and go to the clubs drop down any day and see if your child has a club meeting. All right, and Mr. Chiffo will be back to explain the layers of support that we offer.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Q. So on that club list, there were a couple of clubs that we've recently implemented that were not on there, and that club offerings are kind of fluid, and we're trying to add clubs. Every year we try to add a couple new ones. This year we added the podcasting club was new last year. We have an esports club run by one of our phys ed teachers, which is kind of a big hit now. So just check that website and for the most up-to-date list. And we highly encourage your child to get involved with as many clubs as possible. Sixth graders are not allowed to participate in athletics in sixth grade. That starts in seventh and eighth grade. So we still like to see them as involved as possible. So encourage them to come out to clubs. Extra help, which I'll talk about in a little bit, student council, just tell them to get involved. The more involved they get, the better chances they have of making and maintaining long-lasting friendships. Okay, so where to go if you need help. There are many, many layers of support here. As you heard from Mr. Musio, our guidance department is, it's a revolving door. There's kids in and out of that office all day long, and we have some highly trained counselors, school psychologists, social workers, all in that vicinity. We call them the helping team, and they're here just for that. They're here to help your child whenever they're struggling or have a problem or just need some advice. So the first person you would go to, depending on the problem, would likely be your child's teacher, if it's an academic issue. If it's a social issue, you would go to the counselor. You can also reach out to your child's advisor, and like Ms. Q said, advisory is just another caring adult in the building that your child develops a relationship with. It's the first person they see every day, so they can always go to their advisor, and she hit it on the head. It's literally my favorite 10 minutes of the day. We have 8 kids in our advisory, love them to death. They're just such super kids, and we just really get to know them, and we play games with them. We do Wordle, we do all kinds of fun things, plus the announcements, and they run our fun Name That Tune. Okay, and then there's also the school nurse, school psychologist. Depending on the issue, if it's a curriculum-related concern, you can always go to the supervisor director. And then, of course, myself and Ms. Q, always available. Best way to contact us is through email or phone. We'll usually be able to get back to you on a phone call within 24 hours, depending if it's a weekend or not. And email, same, within 24 hours at the longest. Usually it's much quicker than that, though. We'll be able to get back to you and help. As far as communication, what to expect. Most weeks, this week we didn't send it out, I just remembered, but most weeks you'll get a weekly email from Ms. Q and I. It's called the Warrior Week in Review. Maybe it'll just be called the Wantagh Middle School Week in Review next year, or whatever mascot name we come up with. So in that email, you will get a link to all of our social media posts for the week, and we'll talk about our socials in just a second and why they're so important to us. But it'll be the Warrior Week in Review on Twitter, which will be anything that we put on social media goes to all 3 of our platforms. But I send the link to Twitter, and you can kind of see. So if you're not able to keep up on a daily basis, at the end of the week, you can just kind of scroll through, see if your child made our socials that week. Also, social media, which I'm going to talk about on the next slide. And again, you can always contact us. Our doors are always open. And if they're not open, email or phone, and we'll get right back to you. All right, so our socials. I'm very proud of our social media pages. Last year, when we first started using social media, I was primarily doing all of the posting, and it's very time-consuming. And we would post on if you posted on Twitter, it would go onto Facebook as well as Instagram. So it's at Wantagh Middle on Twitter, at Wantagh Middle on Facebook, and at the Wantagh Middle on Instagram. We highly encourage you to follow us. As a parent, I know that when I ask my children, what did you do today, or how was your day, I get usually one-word answers. Good. Did you learn anything? What was the best part of the day? Lunch. So that I get those answers, and I'm sure you do as well. Social media allows us to kind of open our doors and give you a peek inside of the walls, because I promise you there are amazing things going on in each and every one of our classrooms. We encourage our teachers to take pictures of all the great lessons that are going on, take pictures of the great activities and events happening in the building, and we try to post between 1 and 3 posts a day. On average, you should get between 12 and 18 posts in a week of all the great things happening in the building. Last year, I was able to convince one of my teachers to take over social media. She's like a genius with social media. If you scroll back like 2 years and see the posts that were going out 2 years ago, and then look at last year's and this year's posts, it's like night and day difference. It's like a professional and an amateur who used to do it, this guy. But she posts daily for us. She's actually on a maternity leave right now, and she's still posting from home. Teachers email her and text her pictures all day, and she's getting all the great information out of the great things that are happening. She also posts information like clubs, when clubs are meeting. She'll post that. She'll post testing schedules. So if you're not quite sure about something, you can always check social media, and it'll likely be on there as well. All right, some nuts and bolts, and these are always commonly asked questions, so I just kind of want to touch upon whatever we could. As Ms. Q said, the day starts. The doors open at 8:05. That's when we let children in the building. On really cold days like these months, we'll let them in the lobby prior to 8:05. So if you drop them off at 8 o'clock or 7:55, we're not going to make them stand out there and freeze. They'll wait in the lobby. And then by 8:05 is when we allow them to start making their way to their lockers, and then eventually to advisory. And the day starts at 8:16 is when our advisory starts. Students are encouraged to go to extra help. That's the best way to get academic help when they're struggling. Our teachers give extra help 2 times in a week. Every teacher is required to do it twice a week. Sometimes they'll do both sessions after school. They are allowed to do one morning session. So some teachers will do the early bird period, 7:37 one day, and then after school the next, or they'll do both days after school. Their extra help schedule is always going to be posted on their Schoology page. It'll also be posted in their classroom, so your child has no excuse to say they didn't know when extra help was. Just tell them to look on the whiteboard or on the teacher Schoology page. We also have something called Homework Central. Homework Central takes place in our library, and it happens Tuesdays. There's no Homework Central on Mondays. Tuesdays through Fridays. There's a teacher in the library during the period between 3:02 is when the school day ends until about 3:45 it runs. And it's just a place where your child can go, get their homework done. They can then take the late bus. So we have a late bus schedule that's posted. We'll talk more about that when we get closer, like during orientation time. But they can take a late bus. We encourage them to utilize that support because it's a place for them to go to do their homework with adult supervision and with adult help. So the adults in that room will sit with your child and help them with their homework, and it's just nice for them to be able to get that done. I know we all have busy schedules. I'm sure there's tons of extracurricular activities that your children are involved with. Encourage them to get that homework out of the way as soon as the day ends so they don't have to stress about it later that evening. A&M Arrival already talked about. So we have bussers, and if your child qualifies for a bus, the bus is let off in the front of the building by where the flagpole is, and I'll send out, you don't have to memorize this, because I'll send out detailed instructions, but if you're dropping your child off, you'll come in, let's say you come in off of Wantor Avenue, you'll go under the colonnade, you'll see a line of cars. As soon as the traffic stops, let your child out. You don't have to wait until you're under the colonnade because that backs traffic up a little bit. So like if you're kind of like out a little bit closer to the flagpole, you can let them out there, and then they'll just walk in, and then that line goes straight out towards Beltor. We try to discourage looping around. We try to keep it one way, in and out. Or you can come, if you're from Forest Lake, you can come through Beltor Avenue, Daffodil, and in through that way. That gate is open, and you'll drop off on the opposite side of the main entrance of the middle school. In that case, we discourage children from crossing the colonnade because there's a lot of traffic back and forth. So if you get them out on the other side, on the high school side, they'll go right in through the downstairs cafeteria. We have a supervisor waiting in there. There's breakfast available in the downstairs cafeteria as well. And then at 8:05, we let them out of the downstairs caf through the upstairs through the colonnade. All right, this is discipline. Let's talk about discipline. So It's a little bit different than discipline at the elementary school. Remember, as Mr. Musio said, it is the 3 most interesting years of your child's life, middle school. And we're trapped in the 3 most interesting years of every child's life. They go through so many changes. If you see our incoming 6th graders, your current 5th graders, and then you see our current 8th graders, it's like night and day difference. They're becoming adults by the time they get to 8th grade, and they're going through that change 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. And it's awkward, and it's challenging, and they're going to do things that might shock you and might surprise you. Nothing shocks Miss Q and I anymore. Nothing surprises us anymore. Those 3 years are the 3 years that they make mistakes, and they're going to make mistakes. Every child makes a mistake throughout their middle school career. Some a little bit more than others, but every child is going to make a mistake, and this is the time to do it. So we understand that, and we try to take a progressive approach to discipline. There are some non-negotiables. Fist fights, probably going to be a suspension. Vaping, things of that nature, definitely going to be a suspension. But the more minor things, we try to make them learning experiences. And we've given assignments to students when they've made poor choices to help them learn from it. And it's all about teaching them right from wrong and helping them learn from mistakes that they make. If your child gets in trouble, and if your child ends up getting, let's say, an in-school suspension or an out-of-school suspension, we always try when they come back to make sure somebody touches base with them, either us or the guidance counselor, because we want them to know that it's a clean slate afterwards. And there's no hard feelings. We care about them. We want them to succeed. Yes, you have to learn your lessons sometimes. However, we still care about you, and we're going to help support you and help move on from this. And like I said, it's middle school. You know, disciplinary consequences in middle school won't follow your child all the way through to high school. Okay, one of the questions I always get if a child gets a consequence is, you know, is this going to affect their ability to get into college? Mr. Musio can answer this question probably better than I can, but I don't know of any colleges that have asked to see a child's middle school disciplinary record more so than high school disciplinary record. So let them make their mistakes, let them learn from it, and we're a team. And it's important to me, and we pride ourselves on communicating with you when your child makes a mistake, and we do our best to work you through it and work them through it. Okay, cell phones. This is probably the biggest thing and one of the biggest stressors for us. Children are not allowed to have cell phones. They're not allowed to use their cell phones in the building. We know that they have them. We know that they carry them on them. We'd prefer that they keep them in their backpack and in their locker. However, we don't chase them around if they have it on them in their pockets. If they're using it, then they will get it taken away. Okay, and the reason is middle school students and cell phones are just not a good mix in a middle school. They always lead to problems. Social media, getting back to the social media piece, you know, I feel it's so important to share the great things happening in our building, but I also feel it's important to model how to appropriately use social media. And unfortunately, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever other apps are around, my children use them. Okay, they just, at this age, they just don't know how to use them appropriately, and they tend to get themselves into some trouble using those devices. So we try to minimize it in the middle school, especially in the bathrooms and the locker rooms. Kids will try to go into the bathroom and text people. You know, we make sure that they leave their cell phone outside of the bathroom on a desk when they go into the bathroom, and then they get it on the way out. Same thing, some teachers will ask them to leave it in the classroom if they have to go out to the bathroom. Big no-no in the bathrooms and the locker rooms. If your child gets his or her phone taken away, it comes to the main office. We log it. First offense, they'll be able to pick it back up at the end of the day. Second offense and beyond, parents or guardians will have to come pick the phone up for them. And we don't call. If we take your child's cell phone away, we're not going to, and it has to be picked up by a parent. We're not calling home to tell you that. It's their responsibility. So they have to now come to the main office or go home, tell you, and then you have to come up and get it. We try to make it a little bit harder on them, but it's something that we're really adamant about, and it's really worked out well, especially this year. We've been a little bit more strict about it this year, and it's been working out well. Okay, another new rule that we implemented this year, which, again, when you implement something new, it leads to some challenges, but it was the no backpack rule. We found that it was becoming a safety hazard. Kids, first of all, when you have 600 students all carrying these giant 40-pound backpacks, maybe not 40, but very heavy backpacks, It's a safety concern. They're bumping into each other in the hallways, on the stairwells. They're throwing their bags all over the cafeteria, all over the classrooms. Teachers are stepping over backpacks. So we made a move this year to no backpacks or backpacks in lockers, and it's really forcing students to utilize the lockers. And I have to say, it's really helped students with their organizational skills. And some kids struggled with it at first, the older students more so than the incoming 6th graders, because they didn't know any better. They just did it, and they've been doing it great ever since. But it really teaches them how to strategize, when to go to your locker. We try to put the lockers closer to their core classes. And there are going to be some periods where it's a little tricky. They have to go far from one part of the building to the next. But the guidance team, as well as Ms. Q and I, will work with your child to help them come up with a strategy to use their locker effectively. They don't have to go every single period, but we do want them to go to their lockers, every other period or every 2 or 3 periods. So they have to just learn what to carry, when and where. IDs. This was another new initiative this year. Again, in the eyes of safety, every student is required to wear an ID. They're given a lanyard, and then they have a picture ID with their name and their grade on it. And when they come in the building, we're not scanning just yet. We might get to that point, but right now they just have to show their ID, just have it on them. And as they're coming in, there'll be adults at all of the entrances, just making sure that your child has their ID. If they don't have their ID, they move to a line in the main lobby, and they will just write their name down. We'll print them a temporary ID, and that'll get scanned, and then they wear that temporary ID for the rest of the day. We do have a system in place, and this is just to get them understanding that it's mandatory, that after 3 missed IDs in the first semester, so 2 quarters, after 3 missed IDs, they'll get a detention if they don't have the ID after that. So the 4th time, they'll get a detention. And then every missed ID after that is also a detention. Detentions for IDs don't count towards disciplinary record in terms of when they get to 8th grade, they can lose field trip privileges for X amount of consequences. An ID detention does not count towards that. For the first 3 weeks, it was a little hairy, but their kids are getting the hang of it. And the amount of missed IDs since we started has decreased significantly. It's just a part of their routine now. They know they got to have their ID on them. If they lose their ID, we can print them a new one. It's a $5 charge. If we do that, the first ID they get is on the house. Okay, and then the last thing we just implemented this year, our 6th grade academy. So throughout the year, a number of different adults in the building. The core 6th grade teachers, our phys ed teachers, some of our special area teachers, guidance counselors. Every month they're going to do a special lesson for your child, and it's actually sometimes it's like twice a month. They'll do a lesson for your child, basically just teaching them skills that they're going to need to survive in 6th grade and beyond. Mr. Musio had mentioned there's a social media lesson that his guidance counselors do. That's all a part of the 6th grade academy. They learn organizational skills. They learn who to go to for help when they need it, study skills, things of that nature throughout the course of the school year. So every couple of weeks they'll get a break from their curriculum for a period, and they'll do a 6th grade academy lesson. All right, so that's the nuts and bolts. If I missed anything, like I said, we have time to answer some questions. What's next? Our students will get their counselors will come to them. Then they're going to come do the school visit, and they'll do their tours, and Ms. Q and I will get a chance to meet and interact with them. There'll be an August orientation. You'll get information about that throughout the summer. You'll get multiple emails about that throughout the summer. It's usually the last week before school starts, the last week of August typically, and they'll come in. We'll meet here. We'll kind of go over a couple of quick things, and then I'll send you off into the building, and you have a chance to go into the building with your child, walk the building, walk their schedule. That's when they get a chance to practice their locker, open and close their locker a bunch of times, set up their locker if they want, bring school supplies if they want. But you don't have to. If you don't want to bring school supplies that day, you don't want to set their locker up, that's okay. They can always take care of that within the first week of the school year as well. So don't stress if you can't make that orientation. I think I got it all. We are so excited to welcome your children. Like I said, Wantagh Middle School is all about making sure that your child feels cared for. And we're here for that. And like I said, if you have any trouble or any questions along the way, we are always here for you. There's a whole team of educators, our helping team, that are here for you. We're really looking forward to getting to know your children, and hopefully they get through their 5th grade year. It's going to go like that, and before you know it, they'll be middle schoolers. So thank you, everybody, and we'll take any questions you might have. Yes. Oh, just so you know, I have to repeat the question before I answer it because anybody who's watching from home won't hear it if I'm not talking into the mic. So go ahead. So the question was, is there a bus for the early bird? Yes, great question. So if you're an early birder, we send the roster of all of the early bird students to transportation, and they will get, it's usually the same stop that you have as a middle schooler. It might be like a block off, or you know, it's in the same vicinity, and it'll be, the only thing is it'll be with high school students. So there's high school students that take the bus before period 1. We allow early bird students. We never had any issues with the middle school and high school students being together, but I know that does cause some anxiety for parents. But yeah, we are allowing to have buses for early bird students. Yes. The question was, how often is the early bird chorus? It runs every other day, right? Yeah. Every other day for the year, just like the school day chorus. So it'll either be odd or even days. Yep. Question was, how do we know if our child is eligible for a bus? I don't know the distance. You know the distance?
You'll get an email from transportation. Transportation will typically send out the bus passes by the end of August, so you'll get notified if your child's eligible for a bus. But if you have any questions before then, you can contact transportation. Oh, and it's online. 0.8 for the middle school.
All right, you learn something new every day. 0.8 for the middle school is the distance, and like she said, just call transportation. Don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's on our website, and they'll be able to help you out. Steve Romanazzi is our transportation supervisor. Yes? The question was, is early bird PE still being offered? It is only offered for 7th and 8th grade, and the reason for that is in 7th and 8th grade, there's some different elective choices. Specifically in 8th grade, we have when you're sitting here in 2 years for our incoming 8th grade orientation, we have so many amazing electives available for our students: agriculture, sustainable agriculture, robotics, tons of great electives. And in order for students to maximize the amount of electives that they take, sometimes they opt to push PE into the morning as an early bird. That's another new addition in the past 2 years. 6th grade, we don't have that because there really aren't any electives that we can't fit into their schedule. So the only option for early bird is support services in 6th grade or chorus. Yep. Question was, is there assigned seating during lunch? Okay, so no, there's not assigned seating. We allow students to choose their own seats and choose their own cafeteria. So you're either starting in the downstairs caf on the first day, and that means you're eating first, and then the other half of the students start upstairs in the game room, and then after 20 minutes they switch. And we let them kind of toggle between the two cafeterias and between tables for the first week or two. And then when they finally, there comes a point, and the first few days are a little hairy, staff is always on hand, counselors are on hand, we're on hand, and we're helping students work through those awkward social moments where they're not quite sure where to sit, or there's 75 students that want to sit at the same table, and this table only seats 10. So we work them through all of that. Within the first week or two, that usually settles down, and then they have their seats. And once they settle down, yes, those seats are their permanent seats. And if they want to switch cafeterias or switch tables for whatever reason, it has to go through our guidance department. We very rarely not allow a student to change if they really need to change or they want to change, but we try to minimize it and try to get them locked into their spots once those first week or two is up. Yes, in the back. Either one of you. So the question was, do the students change for PE in 6th grade? Yes, they're allowed to change for 6th grade. I don't know how many of them actually do, but there is a locker room. They do have access to the locker room. They're highly encouraged to change for PE. There are some stalls that they can change into if they're not comfortable quite yet, but they are supposed to be prepared for PE, and that means sneakers and some type of athletic clothing. A lot of students, truth be told, just come in on PE days with appropriate wear for PE that day, but there are a number of students that also change. So yes, we do have changing for PE. Yep.
Are we going to receive a supply list before August?
Yes, your question was, are we going to receive a supply list before August? Yes, the supply list will be emailed to you. Do you remember when?
I'm not sure. We have to go through. We're making some changes.
It's soon.
It's shortly. It's well before August. You'll have them well before the Staples rush.
Yeah, we're trying to update our supply list a bit because of now we're doing no backpacks. So we're trying to encourage teachers to minimize the amount of supplies that students need. They need to have their Chromebook, and they have Chromebooks now in 5th grade, right? So they have their Chromebooks now, so I'm pretty sure they'll just get to bring their Chromebooks up with them, and that's really the most important piece of equipment that they need is their Chromebook, maybe a folder or a binder, but not much more than that. That list will be sent out, I think, within the next month or two because we do the school kids or whatever company we're using for the school supplies. We do it just like they did in elementary school where you have a chance to order. If you don't order, the supply list is emailed to you and posted on the website at some point, and you can just pick it off of there. Yep. So the question was, she's dating herself and asking if if textbooks are most of the, do we still use textbooks or is it mostly online and Schoology and Chromebooks? Mostly Chromebook. We do have some subjects that have textbooks. Social studies still uses a textbook, but they're becoming obsolete at this point because most of our curriculum is available online. Yes. Question was, where do they meet for advisory? Every nook and cranny that you could imagine in the building. Some advisories, we have 2 advisories or maybe even 3 that take place in the gym. We have some that meet in the library. Most of them meet in the classrooms. Our advisory meets in my office. So whatever teacher's assigned, it's usually their classroom, or depending on if they're shared staff or if they share classrooms, we find alternate classrooms for them. Most advisories, there's no advisory with more than, I think, this year 13 students. Most of them are 10 to 12. Our advisory is 8 because it's a smaller room, so we really tailor it to the size of the room. We have some smaller support rooms that only have 6 to 8. And it's all pretty much done randomly with the advisories. I sit there in the summer and I just kind of go through all 3 schools and I'm just trying to place students. I'll try to place maybe 1 student from, like if we lose 4 8th graders in one advisory, I have to replace with 4 6th graders, and I'll try to do maybe 2 from one school, 2 from another school, just so they have a potential friend coming in that they recognize and then a chance to meet new friends as well. Yes. Question is, how are lockers assigned? So it's somewhat random, but also you'll get a locker in a hallway that's closest to, like if your child's on the black team, they'll have a locker close to the black team core classes, and same for the gold team. So you'll get an assigned hallway, and then after that it's pretty much just random. We have top and bottom lockers, and some students prefer the bottom, some prefer the top. You just get what you get, and you don't get upset. That's like what I always say. However, if you are upset, we'll help. So if you are upset and there's you want to change lockers, we always have plenty of lockers to choose from. Ms. Bonello in our main office is our locker guru. So your child will go to the main office, talk to us, or talk to Ms. Bonello, and she will swap it out and give you a new combination and a new lock. Yes. So the question was, if you have a sibling, is there any intention on placing them together or apart? The answer is not really, unless you have a special request. Like if you come to us and request a specific situation, you prefer them to be with their sister and brother or not be with them, we can most of the time accommodate that. Depends on the situation. My advice would be to reach out to the guidance counselors well in advance, because any requests that come in, and we don't guarantee any teacher requests, we don't guarantee team requests, we don't try not to guarantee too much because there's so many things that go into the schedule. However, if you do have requests of that nature, specifically friend requests, like he has to be with so-and-so, whatever, email the guidance counselors. They'll make a note of it, and when we do scheduling, they will work on that. Once the schedule is built, we then hand it over to the counselors, and they go through their requests and see what can be fixed and what can be honored. But like I said, we can't make any guarantees there just because there are so many integral parts to building the schedule. But it can't hurt to ask. Yes. The question was, if you have multiples, twins coming in, do they get put on the same team or separate teams? We do put twins on the same team. Usually not in the same class, but they will likely be on the same team unless you have a special request regarding that. And again, we could also put them in the same class if you request that as well, but we typically try to let them kind of do their own thing. But we understand as a parent, it makes sense to have the same team of teachers because they'll be getting all the same homework. Very aggressively raising your hand over there. Same thing with triplets. Well, we usually have 8 sections coming in. I think it's 8 for this year for you guys. So there's 4 sections on each team. So if you have triplets, God bless you, and and they will be put on the same team in 3 of the 4 sections. Yes. I'm going to let Miss Q take this one. The question was, if they don't, since we don't have backpacks, are girls allowed to carry anything for their feminine needs?
So, the short answer to that is yes. We encourage everyone to not carry things on a daily basis. To lug something else with the Chromebook case, with the binder and whatnot. I've recommended to a lot of the girls to use the front of the Chromebook case and whatnot, or like a small makeup pouch that can fit into something else that they're already carrying. However, no teacher is going to stop them or question them if they're wearing, like I know, like the Lululemon, like the bags, the crossbody bags. Those are very popular. They're small. That's also okay. But no one will ever stop them if they say have a small makeup bag, put it in the front of their Chromebook case, and they take that and walk out and go to the bathroom. So anything along those lines is fine. We just really try to stay away from like large crossbody bags or other types of backpacks and things of that nature.
And that was a big thing this year with the backpacks, too. We dealt with that quite a bit, but we'll always work with you and work with your child to make them feel comfortable. Yes? Good question. The question was, we know that advisory stays together for 3 years, but the guidance counselors loop. Yes, if your child has Mr. Ward as a 6th grader, they will also have Mr. Ward as a 7th and 8th grader. It just goes by the alphabet for each grade. Yes? Yep. Question is, will we use Schoology and Infinite Campus moving forward? The plan right now is to stick with Schoology, yes, and Infinite Campus. Are you guys using Schoology in elementary? Yeah. So nothing changes there. I'm not quite sure how they're utilizing it in the elementary school, but I can tell you at the middle school they're using Schoology on a daily basis. Students are well versed in it, and it's a good tool for parents to be able to keep track of assignments and grades for your child. Yep. So the question was, there are no silly questions. That's a good question. Her question was, will we post the dimensions of the lockers because some backpacks are so big, they're not sure if they will fit. I don't know.
We certainly can. What typically tends to happen is, as big as that backpack is when it comes in, by the time they take out whatever, I don't even know what they carry. No, it's fine. I don't even know what they carry in there. Maybe there's bricks. But as soon as everything comes out, their Chromebook, they're taking it with them. Their first binder, they're taking it with them. Then the backpack shrinks and it winds up fitting in there. But we can certainly put that somewhere as an FYI. But I haven't, and I've seen some large backpacks. I have not heard or seen of one yet that doesn't make its way into the locker. There might be like a lingering strap hanging out the bottom, but everything seems to fit in there, including the jackets.
I'm going to just take a ballpark guess that they're roughly 12 inches wide and 36 inches tall, ballpark. But I'll test that tomorrow. But that's a great suggestion. Maybe we'll post that. Maybe I'll put that in one of my incoming letters just so you're aware. Thank you for the tidbit. Yes. So the question was, we work with children with helping their organization skills. Do we have anything to help parents so that we're speaking the same language in terms of helping their child stay organized? Right. So we don't have anything specific that we do. However, if you're concerned that your child might be struggling, I would recommend you reach out to their counselor, and their counselor can review their schedule and help you plan. And even on like orientation day, that's really the time to do that. You know, you can walk the schedule with your child and help plan out. All right, I think this would be a good period for you to go to your locker afterwards, and that could change and evolve as time goes by. But if the school year started and they're still struggling, absolutely reach out to us. Ms. Q and I have been known to call a kid down and literally go to their locker with them, stand there until we know that they're comfortable opening it. You know, we've looked at their schedule, helped them strategize. We'll get them through it. You're welcome.
If your child struggles with organization and you know that they came, spoke with us, spoke with their counselor, and know that they might still be bringing home maybe more than they should be, call us and we'll let you know the plan that we worked out with them, you know, during the day. That way you can reiterate the same thing at night. We're a team, and whoever's working with your child will also work with you. Of course.
Yes. So the question was, if your child chooses a club and they realize they don't like it, are they able to switch? Absolutely. Clubs are fluid. They can go to a club once and never go back. They can go to 7 different clubs, you know, in the same week. They can join a club the last week of the year. There's no like enrollment. There's no cutoff date. It's there. It's an option. Most of them are just, you know, free floating. You know, we have regulars that come every week, and we have kids that pop in from time to time. But I encourage them to try out as many as possible. There were some hands here. Yes. Great question. And I meant to actually mention that in part of my presentation. You have the best suggestions. She said, can students suggest clubs if there's a club not available and they would like a club to be implemented? Absolutely. There's a process. I have to get superintendent and board approval if there's a new club suggestion. But we've had a few clubs that have been recommended by students. There was an animal club. I think there was like a gardening type club that was a student recommended club. There was a technology. It was called Tech Kids. I had a couple of 6th graders who are now, I think, 9th graders, when they were in 6th grade, came to me and with a whole PowerPoint presentation about a club that they wanted to start. I sat, I watched their presentation. I then asked them to write me up a little paragraph, which they did, and I sent it to Mr. McNamara, and he brought it to the board, and it got approved. The only issue is it's usually a year out, so they can recommend a club. I still have to find a supervisor for it. Sometimes I can convince a staff member to do it for that year for free because I can't get approved for funding until the following year. But I've had plenty of staff members who have done that. They did a club for a year, and then we put it on the books, and they got paid for it the year after. I actually this year budgeted a little bit of money for that exact instance. So I think I have a little bit left that if we do have a club suggestion this year, I might be able to get it on the books and approved for this year because we already budgeted for that. Great question. Yes? The question was, is all of the classes ICT, that's integrated co-teaching, one of our special education support services. Each team has at least one ICT section. So they're not all ICT. Last year we had 3 sections in 6th grade. We had 2 on one team, 1 on the other. It depends on the enrollment in the ICT program. But each team does have an ICT section. Any other? Yep. Question was, any chance for an after-school chorus? There hasn't been any in the works right now. Ms. Jones, has that come up at all? Yeah, it's a tricky one with staff and with contractually, because at 3:02, the high school ends at 2:19. We end a period later than that, so that has not come up. It also interferes with like extra help and whatnot. Not out of the question. I'm always open to the conversation, but right now, no, we haven't had that conversation. Yep. He's asking about the late bus timing if your child is in a club or Homework Central. They're on the transportation website. The late bus schedule is posted. We also have it posted in the main lobby. I believe the first late bus is it 4:05 or 3:45? I think 4:05 is the first late bus. Then there's like 4 or 5 different late buses. So it's like 4:05, 4:45, 5:15, and I think 6:05 might be the last one. That's mainly for 7th and 8th graders who do sports. Your child will likely be taking, if they stay for extra help or Homework Central, the first one, which is 4:05. And then there's a north and a south bus. So you should review this with your child. Good question. The south bus has a number of stops on the south side of Wantaw. The north bus has a number of stops on the north side of Wantaw. It likely won't be the same stop as their normal bus stop, so they just have to know which bus they have to go on, north or south, and then they have to know which stop is theirs. The bus will stop at all of these streets, and they just have to know when their time to jump off is. So it's a good strategy to work that through with your child.
Sounds tricky in the beginning, but once they take the late bus once, they know exactly where they're going, and there's also a security guard, and majority, almost every day, we are there at that time as well. We'll help anybody who needs help figuring out what late bus to get on and where to get off. Sometimes there are some high schoolers that'll come over to that side of the colony if they miss the late bus on their side, but typically that's mostly just middle school students.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a high school late bus and there's a middle school late bus. Yeah.
I can think of a handful
Yeah.
Here and there, but not in abundance.
Yeah. All right. I think we got it all. Last chance. All right. Like I said, if you think of a burning question on your way home, just shoot us an email. We'll be happy to answer. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Some really great questions this time around, and we appreciate you guys sticking around, and we look forward to welcoming your children into our amazing school. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.